This evening we will be immersed in a topic that's very important and topical as we speak. It's the state of justice in the largest democracy on earth. And it will be a conversation through music, through art, and through dialogue today. So, we just heard Trika, the marvelous, fabulous Trika, BBC has called her, she's called the music artist activist, and there's no doubt that we can sing why that is so. These art pieces that you see, that's the fantastic Olivia Dalrymple. Olivia Fraser Dalrymple is petaled lotus, and the lotus is the symbol, as we know, it's the Buddhist symbol of truth. It's truth and purity, purity of speech, purity of mind, purity of body. So I just thought that it's the ideal setup for us to be talking about why this popularity with the untruth in our country. Not always, but sometimes. Now, having said that, I would like to welcome our moderator for the day, Abhinandan. Abhinandan Sikri, he's the co-founder of News Laundry, just ideal for today's evening, which has a fantastic panel. Some of the leading lawyers, intellectuals of the country.
We have three very well-known lawyers, very accomplished, and they have all handled really high-profile cases. There's Akhil Sibal. Hi, Akhil. There's Karna Nandi. And those of you who know Tanveer Ahmad Mir, he was recently in the news because of the Arushi Hemraj Rawalwala case.
Investigation done by the Board of Police officials is only 2.5 years of written documents. So I still feel a bit surprised, stunned, as to how in 2 days' time of an investigation, starting from 16 and somewhere around 18, 19, very senior, highly qualified police officials, went into a press conference where there were about easily 400 to 500 camera crews, and made certain statements which are so appalling. For example, questioning the character of a 13-year-old girl, questioning the character of the parents. And I think that very first interview by the police officials at a senior level converted this case into what can easily be called as a tabloid gold. And then came a huge media intrigue, intrusion, and the matter went for a spiraling toss. When the CBI investigators came, their investigation was going nowhere. And sometimes I think in summer of September 2009 onwards, a very strange twist in the investigation took place, which is now sort of ratified by a constitutional court in Allahabad of 2 very senior judges, that the parents were first put in a focus of accused persons without there being evidence to support it. Then first you framed the parents that these are the accused, and then the investigators started connecting the dots and building evidence around them. I think, the press conference was very important in this aspect to begin with, because it started an insinuation on the deceased, on the parents, which went vitriolic. And then subsequently, during all this time from 2008 till date, there are divided opinions, and so much have been said about the parents, the girl, or the otherwise, which is untrue on record. And there's no evidence on record to support all these allegations.
And when you said it isn't said by those not responsible, but by mainstream legacy media.
Absolutely. The kind of media intrigue. I would not hesitate even to say that throughout this time, I have a personal experience of seeing that the parents were targeted, and I think they were sold over by media again and again. I'm making this statement with strong sense of responsibility.
According to me, the problem is not with the laws as they stand. That's a minor part of the problem. There is something problematic that comes up, but that's not the major problem. The problem is with the implementation, with the adjudication. it's going to take you years and years. I mean, today you have over 2 crore pending cases in the lower courts. You have lakhs and lakhs in the high court, several thousand in the Supreme Court. Out of these, 10% at the minimum are cases which are pending for more than 10 years. So you have a system which takes as long as it does. Well, that really, I mean, that's where the adage justice delayed, justice denied comes. Which is why you have in large parts of the country systems which are outside the law. Systems of quote-unquote justice, which are extra-constitutional, because people's faith in the legal system is steadily eroded and frankly sick. The parents of Anushik Kalwar over the some people will say, look, our justice system is really strong. The error was corrected. And then what? I have a client, Kamil Khan. He was arrested when he was 18 years old in 1998. He was released when he was 32 in 2012. There were 20 cases against him, implicating him in bomb blasts in 96, 97 that took place in Delhi and in the States. And for 14 years, he hadn't seen the stars because he was in solitary. And they put him in his cell before, the stars came out. He'd never seen a mobile phone. He came out, he's been acquitted in 18 out of 20. There are 2 of these pending in High Court. I am hearing one of them. I looked at the evidence and it's clear to me when I look at it that he was trained. And
I just want to hear a lawyer's perspective on whether, I think you mentioned just now, extrajudicial responses. I think you probably referred to the list. Is it that the legislative process is just too slow to deliver? And are we sort of sidelined perhaps by hashtags and by Twitter, which is far more spectacular and it gets results and people lose jobs, people feel a sense of satisfaction and progress? How can the judicial system improve that?
Does anyone take that? The question is that in the days of hashtag, what I think mentioned Me Too, the Me Too campaign, there's a lot of echoes, it's not entirely clear. Does the sex appeal or the noise around that affect the judicial process?
look, I mean, generally, as far as, and of course, India also has a role to play, the courts are obviously not removed from society. They are aware of what's going on, what in social media trends are, what's happening in this now social media trends and so on are reported in mainstream media. And of course, we're in a sort of post-truth world where people are more interested in sound bites which are emotive rather than the facts. And at the end of the day, I mean, certainly I do as a lawyer see the impact of that sort of public conversation, which is often based on an entirely incomplete knowledge of facts on the courts. You see the impact of that perception on courts. Today, if I have a client who is a person in some significant position, a person of some sort of stature in society in terms of either wealthy, corporate, a politician, or someone else who's known, it's a liability. That person, when they approach the court for justice, often you are facing a negative public perception because people will sort of presume that the person must be guilty of what he or she is accused of. You have a case.
So the police know that using the media in their favor is something that might sometimes work. But I also want to speak on the flip side. What often doesn't get talked about is the increased justice sometimes that a weak victim can get because of the media. Right?
It happened to Jessica Lal.
It happened in the Jessica Lal case, but the Jessica Lal case, again, let's remember, is somewhat problematic because the system didn't necessarily work so well there. witnesses were intimidated. Some witnesses backed out.
Yeah,
And very quickly finish this point. And so, while there was a conviction, at the trial level, there was no conviction because the judge said that, look, I don't have enough to go on, right? And then at the High Court level, there was a conviction, and while that might have been the right result, we don't really know if it was the right result.
If you want to deliver justice in any case, you start with the investigation, and at the end of the day, it's only when the investigation culminates into something that you go to a court of competent jurisdiction. And at that time, if there are proper judicial reforms, they can also kick in and come into play. Now, we have, as Akhil rightly said, that we have huge pendency of cases all over India. Let me tell you that in Delhi High Court, in 2018, we are hearing appeals 5 years down the line, say of about 2012-13, for people who are not in custody. So we have a delay of about 4 to 5 years. When you go to Allahabad in 2018 is hearing 1987. So an appeal which was lodged in Allahabad High Court in the year 1987 is coming up for hearing in 2018. And for example, in Delhi High Court where people are in custody, we have a time delay of about 2 to 3 years. They have a delay of 15 years. So if we as lawyers did not push Allahabad High Court into either granting us liberty pending appeal or hearing us, my Arushi Talwar Hemraj appeals would have come after 20 years. And by that time, my clients would have spent at least 24 years in custody. So first of all, police reforms are very important. The police officials need to investigate properly. If there is a crime scene, it is rich in evidence. After 2 days, it will not be rich in evidence. If you go into these Arushi Talwar files available on internet, you will see on 17th there is a rooftop which could have easily been barricaded. You could have put up a tape of no entry. You could have put constables, nobody is allowed to go inside. But rather what you see now is about 150 camera crews on rooftop sitting on the crime scene, plus onlookers coming in, and then very conveniently down the line somebody would say that, look, it's the parents who dressed up the crime scene. Now, I don't know who dressed up what. Because now the division bench of Allahabad High Court says that you falsely implicated innocent people. Compensation is very important aspect, but I think the Supreme Court in 2014, Akhil would know it and Karuna as well, and there is a judgment written by the former Chief Justice called State of Gujarat versus Kishan Bhai, where an accused who was again never found raped and murdered, I think, a 7 or 8-year-old girl and chopped her ankles in order to remove anklets. And finally, a case even that dreadful as it can be resulted in an acquittal. And therefore, the Supreme Court in the last paragraph said that this is a case where we see that the investigating officer was so callous that he did not even send the case property for DNA analysis, which was available otherwise. So therefore, what we direct hereinafter is in every criminal investigation, in every criminal trial, which is serious, for example, murder, rape or something.
My name is Rajkumar, I'm a professor. My question is to the panel in general, because I know the narrative that I hear from all three of you as lawyers is the state of affairs of our legal system and democracy, the challenges the courts are facing, and in many ways the difficulty establishing a rule of law society. I want to make it slightly personal to you in the sense that I see three of you to be relatively young lawyers. when you began legal profession, and since that journey to today, have you seen the evolution of legal system leaving you less optimistic about the future, or do you see the evolution of the legal system to be more optimistic? And the reason I ask this question is that as a teacher, I am teaching young students aspiring to be a lawyer to have faith in the system of the rule of law in a society which is struggling with establishing the rule of law. So if we were to instill faith in the rule of law, we need to have hope. And the question that I have for you is, have you been hopeful in your journey in the profession as you look at the challenges that democracy and courts are facing?
Okay, very quickly. On a personal note, I studied abroad. Most of my education was abroad. I chose to come to India in 2002, come back to India after 13 years abroad. And that was a time when the world economy was booming. There was plenty of job opportunities, six-figure salaries and law firms, etc. Came back with a lot of hope, and that was the time when there was a reverse brain drain taking place, because normally you have people who have opportunities abroad staying abroad. And I have no regrets at all, because there's so much to be done. And in a sense, you feel like you're fighting a good fight every day. And yes, there are many moments of frustration. But ultimately, I think in this country, as a young person, you have to sort of make a choice. And for those who find it too demoralizing, they are disillusioned. I don't blame them, because it's easy to become that, and it's pretty tough, to kind of stay back and fight. But, you're getting the opportunity to be within the system and, to be some part of that change. And I know it sounds idealistic, but I tell you, more than a decade in, that, it really feels like it's been worth it. Now to answer the specific question. So therefore, I still look at it with positivity, number one. Secondly, I've seen a change during that time. When I started cases on the civil side, say in the Delhi High Court, which has been my main court of practice, nothing used to, you felt like nothing was getting heard. And that's changed. Now, we started with the judges at that time, I'm talking 2002-03. Every judge in the Delhi High Court had 50-60 cases every single day. And so hardly anything getting got heard. And that's changed. That number is halved. And things do get heard now. And it's not simply, an adjournment of 6 months and 8 months and 1 year, which used to be typical. It's now, it's a few weeks or maybe a couple of months. So there is change. Things are moving. There is, even within the institutions, there is greater self-regulation. There is a greater sense. The need of the hour is disposal. And so you do see, for example, judges very conscious of their disposal numbers and almost competing with other judges to see who can sort of dispose more quickly. Sometimes it leads to judgments in haste. But at least there is pressure and there is a push. And I think the sort of larger issue, perhaps to bring it back to the larger question, is to what extent can these institutions, the judiciary, the investigative agencies, to what extent can they self-regulate sufficiently to, remain or become, at times you would say, credible and give us the kind of rule of law that we need?
I think self-regulation has not worked in any institution, but I would like to come
Not to India.
definitely not in India. If you could comment on that, Akhil's optimism notwithstanding, isn't the Dutchman Delhi that anything that happens here in the spotlight with someone in the Saharanpur district court be seeing the same level of that you are. I don't know, maybe it's true, but just like the police the way it works in Delhi, I know for a fact, my friend, in smaller towns, you can get what you want done, which you can't get done in Delhi. And so I don't understand the audience, there's a very good podcast called More Perfect on the legal system. And did you know that they put the data with Israel courts, US, that's interesting, on the case granted just before lunch.
I told you this.
Yeah, no, so that's podcast, More Perfect as well. Any more questions for the government?
That's right, okay. So essentially we looked at bails granted in the morning and then bails granted as the day wore on. And they found that bails granted in the morning were at much higher level because the judges were fresh, they were hungry. And so after that study they instituted 11 I think, and like a sandwich in the middle of the afternoon. And they found that things were evening out in terms of the disposal rate.
But small towns, Akhil's.
Small towns, but also Raj's question I think is a very, very good question, actually. I skidded in a little bit late to this event because I was at a rape trial, and it was a woman, an American woman, who was raped and had come in, very stressed, very nervous. I find that the people who tend to tend to complain, but also who tend to go through with the trial, that people who have something of a public interest in mind, that it's not just about them, because I think that's the thing that tips the balance between not wanting to engage with the justice system that's sometimes difficult, and saying that, okay, look, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do the work and I am going to figure it out and testify, etc. Now, she came in and she was very scared because she had been threatened by the accused and their family, etc. And I was delighted. I have been delighted so far by the way that she was being treated by the justice system. We were immediately taken to a court of vulnerable witnesses, which is much quieter, private. She's been given security, and a personal security officer, not the least valuable, oldest constable in the police station. She has been given a woman constable who is, who is a head constable, and her sense will be there, right? Now, in terms of hope, right? How can you not hope? When you have darkness, when you are going through particularly darkness, and when your rights against majoritarianism, like I believe in politics, that's a tough fight because that's gained to a large extent, and also you're up against some very efficient people, right? But in the courts, the ability to influence and seek, right, that impact is so deeply valuable. And I think that there is no better time, and no more unfortunate time than the present for young people to enter into the law. In terms of small towns, look, I was in the Mapsa District Court for a case, and honestly, I was very impressed by the politics that is there. Goa, of course, again, you're right. The Goa will be a special case. In Bulandshahr, it might be different. And it is patchy, and there is Delhi privilege. But I would also hesitate to use broad brushes here, right? Like, I would hesitate to say that, look, district courts across the country are sort of not working, are rubbish, with the challenges that exist, with the terrible disposal rates. I beg your pardon, that. Not the disposal rates, with the terrible pendency, right? And coming to that. With the terrible pendency, I think that our judges as a whole are actually doing well. In terms of systemic reform, I keep saying this. In the context of almost every case that has happened. Whether it is a speech offense, somebody is going through a trial for somebody is being accused of speech offense, right? Whether somebody is accused of murder or rape, whether somebody is a rape victim oil and gas disaster, the slowness of the system really is a punishment. So, in terms of priorities, yes, judicial independence is on everyone's mind these days. Yes, it's extremely important. Yes, we have other issues. Yes, we have witness protection programs, etc. However, more judges, more courts, and not just, upper caste Hindu able-bodied men.
Representation of that. Yeah.
Yes, if I can, Dr. Rajkumar's question was of paramount importance. What I would like to say, Dr. Raj, you are a Vice Chancellor of perhaps one of the most revolutionary universities ever set up in India. So, what you have to say to your students is that you have to develop a strong sense of challenge. A lawyer in the society is a person who will never abhor or step aside on a challenge thrown to him. So challenges will be thrown to us by the society. It's up to us to stand, take them head on, and then we can definitely build a better, robust future for all of us. Coming back to one issue on the media implosion also. Yes, there is sometimes discontent, we are disgruntled. And I would not hesitate here to say in this August audience that I sometimes feel appalled on certain situations, and one situation which I see is of a gentleman, perhaps the only Indian who ever came closest to be appointed as Secretary General of United Nations, none other than Dr. Shashi Tharoor. And what has happened to Dr. Shashi Tharoor is that even before any investigating agency has pointed a finger to him, in certain sections of the media or otherwise, he's already a murderer. So therefore, at the end of the day, you have to take up that challenge, you have to infuse that sense of challenge amongst the students that there will be situations like these two that will come up, and you have to have that mettle in you to stand up and to fight in the society. The examples will be galore.
Okay, we have two questions here. Can you introduce yourself?
I'm Rajiv, in fact, and there's just a general question that, democracy and the courts. What happens in democracy, there's a lot of freedom available to people, and one thing that a democratic system should guarantee is that the weakest should be protected. And there should be an institutional mechanism to protect it. The courts are rule-bound, in fact, and they are actually, governed by facts, and as things have actually happened, rather than getting impacted by the zeal of the general societal, impact of media or any other external consideration. Now the point is, these days, when you see of the zeal of judicial activism, while judicial activism is very important because when the other arms of the government don't function, probably judiciary is the only hope. But what's happened of late is that there's too much of noise about the media. In fact, and media trials like the Tucci scam, the kind of things that happened in Arushi murder case, and even in the impending coal scam cases, where media has actually already convicted everybody. In the Tucci scam, and let's come out, we'll see what happened with the coal scam also. The point is that in such a situation, what is the institutional mechanism to protect the rights of those which get violated, like it was in Tucci as well as in the Arushi murder case?
Before we come to that, I'll just take one more question. You can take both together.
My question maybe digresses a little from the topic of the day. Presumably, which is I think a very fair presumption that when you take on a case, you believe that your client is in the right. Now, as the case progresses and more facts come to light, because investigations are usually going on, and if you know now that your client is not in the right, how do you deal with such a situation? What is your priority, to win the case for your client, or that truth must prevail?
I guess 20 years of hardcore criminal serious crime defense practice. every time I defend a person who comes to me, in about half an hour, I know what my man is all about. And so, yes, I have defended people who have actually murdered, and I'll continue to do so, because that is a duty I bestow onto myself as a professional lawyer. And my duty in the court, in an adversarial system, is to show to the judge that whether the evidence is good enough to convict my client. If it's good, you got what you deserved. If it's not good, then I thrash the prosecutor around. That's how I go about it. But yes, 100%, in not more than an hour's time, I know who did what. But that's the duty that we take on to ourselves, and we take it from there. Coming to the question of Rajiv, great question.
I just want to take one more question from the stage from the BBC, and I want to tackle the whole media thing together. And then another question.
I have a question about this ongoing case against Mishra, the Chief of Justice, because the main criticism that he gets is that he's not following the traditional procedures for allocating cases, and that sort of the nation has to decide whether he should be impeached or not. And for me, this is really where democracy and the politics and the judicial systems meet. Like, when politicians decide on how does it work with the separation of justice and law? And also, how can a nation decide on whether a person should be impeached if he's not following the right procedures? And also, what does it mean that those procedures have always been followed? What does it mean that like the legal procedure that they should have been following, or was this also based on politics or the judges in power? I'm very ignorant, so that's why I'm asking these kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, does democracy give us a referendum on everything, which is definitely not practical. And then we have a question, but before that, I will interrupt. Regarding the question we have, which is another 8 minutes, isn't it? So I think we just leave that to them. I have not done more questions, I'm really sorry. The media, I think what I think media is that the worst amongst us must be tolerated, so the best amongst us are not silenced. Because in case you try silencing the worst, that's a precedent to silence the best. I don't understand, as a media professional, this is a question, why that is supposed to have any impact on justice in courts, because it happens into a multiple of 100 in the US. I don't hear of any demands to restrain the media from coverage. I understand what Tanveer said, if they invade the space of investigation, that's different, that's not about media, you've compromised evidence. But just making a noise, really, does that need to be addressed? Is that even a problem that can be solved? Should any mind space be given to that? Let's start with Tanveer, then go back in the same direction that we started. And you can take his question as well.
Sure.
Okay, Tanveer, carry on.
All right. Let's have the question first.
Hi, actually my name is Ismail Randulati. See, I just wanted to ask you, you were just talking about role and democracy and wants. So, as young lawyers, I have your opinion on the 4 honorable Supreme Court judges who just came out recently and expressed their anguish. I mean, what exactly do you make of that? Because see, if for judges, I mean, this is something which has never happened before, I think, in any court. I mean, if we leave India alone, I think it has never happened anywhere in the world that 4 judges and the senior judges have come out and expressed something. They have expressed anguish, and they are actually asking for a solution. So what do you have to say on that?
And one last one, then no more questions on the page.
So when I see the title democracy in the courts, while I think a lot of discussions happen on justice being delivered to a common man, but the import of this I see a little differently in the sense that I think democracy gets imperative, especially when the powers, or political powers or senior executive powers are influencing judiciary. Okay? So while police may be inefficient, there was and murders the justice in a different way. But I think democracy is far more at peril when power is influencing. And today, whether these four judges have come out and spoken about something that's not happening right in the Supreme Court, or even from the cases that one has seen, whether the Puji case, that it seems that it was being influenced by the power at some point in time, by a certain political party at some point in time. And even now, there is a belief that if the acquittal has happened, that has also happened because of certain quid pro quo. And a similar sense exists in a court case, that it seems to be chased by somebody definitely from a political point of view. So judiciary, the question here is the judiciary, how it insulating itself from either following political bosses or, I wouldn't call them bosses, but powers, or media influence on one hand. So media is one hand, but I think the political powers that influencing judiciary. As a reward system, we have seen the Chief Justice being given a governance position, and we have seen, justices being sort of hounded.
So can I just request, okay, we have one more. Do we have time? Can I just take that one? Okay. So that's
So just following on that, actually, I think the idea that the judges, when the judges speak up, I think we should be worried because something very fundamental is happening. We know in history that has happened. We know that, what happened with the judges in particular. But also, I think more contemporarily, I think, my name is Natasha, I live in London. So, when the Brexit thing happened, and then there was this case that was brought to the courts there to say that the Parliament should have a say in the Brexit bill. And when the judges passed that judgment to say that the Parliament should do that, the next day the tabloids were, they had these pictures of these judges and they said these are enemies of the people. So it is, I think, the fact that when there is that majoritarian element of democracy is being undermined by that kind of a sentiment, then I think judges are at the sort of, at the receiving end of that kind of thing. Because we are seeing, because when they are, so the vilification of judges for doing what many see to be the right thing, I think is that, is kind of frontier of, I guess, a battlefield of democratic sentiment.
Now, I have a request, if you could take different questions, because we have three, I'll just tell you and in the same order we start, you could take them. One is, was there any impropriety in the way cases were given out of the Supreme Court? Is that a fact? Because the way sessions are really confused. Second, the media involvement, can anything be done about it? Mine, should anything be done about it? And of course, the question of general awareness, political influence, impact.
Let me take the question of whether your question that media involvement, to what extent it should affect judiciary. Ideally, to whatever extent the media may project a particular case in a particular manner, it should never affect the course of adjudication of a particular dispute, whether it's a murder trial or any other case or corruption trial before a court, because ultimately in a court of law, any judge or a jury, wherever it is to have a look at the evidence and evidence alone and rule on evidence. To that extent, in an ideal situation, yes, but that's why we constantly, take up these challenges, have these discourses, keep on asking the questions, and ultimately, in cases you see, for example, in Arushi Talwar Hemraj double murders, the trial court convicted my clients. We were seriously anguished, and now a constitutional court passes strictures against the trial judge and saying that, well, when it came to appreciating evidence, probably the common sense took an adjournment. So, should we say that the great media intrigue into a trial influenced a judge, one can say that, under tremendous pressure, maybe a person does get compelled at the end of the day to take an official narrative as against, a good analysis of evidence and then to rule on it. But that's how the system works. I guess we have to work within the system. So that's why there is a tier system. You have a trial court, you have the first appellate court. The first appellate court, what it does is reappreciates every aspect of evidence once again, as if the trial court judgment never existed. So checks and balances are there. What we have to do is not to lose our confidence and spirit and have that willpower to keep the fight on.
Yeah, one is of course, was there something wrong with the way cases were allocated?
Yeah.
That's a short answer. And about political interference, is there a solution as we discuss now?
The question at the back, in terms of case allocation, look, there is a huge concentration in our system. There has over many decades been a huge concentration of power in the hands of the institution of the Chief Justice. And the reason is because our court is divided into a large number of benches, the Supreme Court, which is not that common in the Supreme Courts in the rest of the world. If you take the United States, for instance, they all sit in plenary, they all sit together. Okay? So therefore, which bench decides which case is significant? Secondly, you have a large number of cases that are pending disposal. So the system of early hearing, so we make early hearing applications to the Chief Justice, and the Chief Justice decides whether there will be a case that will jump to queue. And so therefore, in these two aspects, there is that huge institutional power. Now, whenever you have an individual invested with that huge institutional power, you're going to need a sort of hyper level of efficiency and some system, I guess, right? If you're going to have a certain amount of predictability and transparency. And secondly, if you don't always get that same level of probity, then any lapse there is going to affect the system. And so therefore, in terms of, I think, having a system there, therefore, is particularly important, because it can't just be, according to me, discretionary. The point that Natasha raised, I think, is very important, that these are unusual times. When 4 judges speak up, and it hasn't happened before, it's not enough to just say that, oh look, these things happen, and oh look, they are going against an agreement not to speak to the media. This is a time to really, I think, wake up and think very carefully about what is being said. I remember thinking about, just about a week ago, thinking about before this happened, Justice H.R. Khanna and his role in our constitutional history. The gentleman who sat on the Supreme Court, and he said that even though all my brother judges believe that citizens' constitutional rights must be suspended because there is bullying by government, I dissent. And when 4 judges speak up now, I think that it is very important to make sure that this is not an excuse for government to step in and sort of compromise the sort of institutional independence and separation of powers of our constitutional democracy.
So, sorry, Karuna, I just need to wind up because we have to get out of here right away.
If I could just finish one line, because that gentleman's question was of great significance. You see, extraordinary development, we can't shy away from it. But as lawyers community, we are also shell-shocked. Because the problem for us is that amongst a pool of hundreds of high court judges, the wisest 25 go to the Supreme Court. So I have been asking this question to myself, that can any judge of the Supreme Court, even if he got elevated about a week back, can ever be termed to be as a junior judge? Now the fact is that if you say that a judge of the Supreme Court is a junior judge, I find the word personally insulting. And secondly, I feel that the capacity and the capability of any judge in the Supreme Court to deal with any issue is of great importance. And I believe that whatever the judges will do, they will do only on the basis of the cases which are presented. Whilst it's very difficult to say. So all right, so that's what I wanted to say.
Okay. The role government has in the appointment of judges is intelligence bureau reports. That can be something of a misnomer. It's because, I remember a report that was given on a particular judge where he said he's an alcoholic, his nickname is Boozer. Now this guy is boarding school, and he wasn't an alcoholic at all, it turns out.
Teetotaler.
And a teetotaler, right? However, what we evaluate, so intelligence bureau reports can, on occasion, be used to blackmail. That I think is one of the cruxes of the situation. I think that's one of the things that people aren't thinking about. And I think that's something that, as a constitutional democracy, we need to fix.
Thank you, panel. That was a very enlightening discussion. Thank you for taking that. By and large, though willing to went over your limit, but I find everything a difficult time, just saying it. I'd like to thank the audience for their participation and for your question. I hope we go back enriched and we know more than we came here with. And I'd just like to do my last word, sorry, that A, you silence a voice because it said something inconvenient. History has taught us from Socrates to Galileo to all the philosophers who told us that we are on the center of the universe, that the best ideas are going to get killed. So we will have to tolerate the shit that comes with it, so that we continue to evolve, because better ideas only can proliferate in an environment where there is no punishment.
I think you got it.
Thank you so much, panelists, Karuna. Thank you so much, Manjeet. Thank you, Arun. Just to promote a very intense evening, there's just some wine and cheese. I invite all of you to please come. And thank you so much for dedicating your Tuesday evening. This is an important topic. And I do hope that all of you enjoyed it and will go back home with some questions about certain things that you probably